What's up guys, today we'll be going over Armor 2.0 and breaking down everything you need to know about it and also my pros and cons and all my first initial thoughts on the new system. Almost all this information is coming from the Bungie reveal stream about the Armor 2.0. If you already watched it, great. If not, I will link it down in the description if you want to go ahead and watch it. This won't be a one-to-one breakdown of what happened in that stream, but it'll be pretty close. If you didn't watch it, you'll get all the key points. And if you did watch it, you might pick up on a few things I say here that you missed out on the stream. And also be breaking down my thoughts about the system and all that good stuff. So there's definitely be something for everyone here. So let's go ahead and begin with how you get Armor 2.0. Well, if you complete a Solstice of Armor set right now, when Shadowkeep comes out, you can go to the gunsmith and upgrade it to Armor 2.0 set, as you see right here, and it's 250,000 glimmer. I don't know if that's a placeholder number or if it'll actually be that much glimmer. As you can tell, the glimmer cap went up to 250,000. They also mentioned that you'll be able to take all of your exotics that you currently already have out of the collection, and they will come as Armor 2.0 with set gear stats and things like that. So you'll have exotics to start off, but you'll still want to get them again with better stats in the future as Shadowkeep progresses. Then on top of that, all legendary armor that you acquire in Shadowkeep and going forward will be Armor 2.0, which includes existing legendary armor sets in the game, but you have to reacquire them, which means if it's a raid set, let's say Last Wish, you have to go to do Last Wish again after Shadowkeep launches, and the armor drops you get will then be Armor 2.0. So what is Armor 2.0? How is it different than regular armor? Well, as you see, there are 3 new stats on armor, which are the stats from Destiny 1, on top of the existing mobility, recovery, and resilience, which are discipline, which is going to be your grenade cooldown time. Then the next one will be intellect, which will be your super cooldown time. Then finally there will be strength, which will be your melee cooldown time. And one thing that's very interesting about this is that you go from 0 to 10, and now it's just multiplied by 10. So for example, what was 10 recovery before is now 100 recovery, and every 10 counts as a tier that increases the cooldown to the next level. For example, as you see here, he has 39 strength, which is tier 3 at 1 minute and 22 second melee cooldown. Then at tier 4, it will drop to a minute and 8 seconds. So the perks and mods on Armor 2.0 are completely different. You have a currency which is called energy now on your armor that can either be void, arc, or solar energy. And as you see, it has 5, but you can upgrade that all the way up to 10. And as you upgrade higher and higher, it will cost more and more materials, including a few new ones to get to 9 and 10, as you see right here. And one thing that is very interesting once you get to 10 energy on an armor piece is you get +2 of every single stat. As you see, mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, intellect, and strength. As you go to 10, you get +2 in all those categories, which is very nice. And on top of that, you have more energy to use on your perks and mods on that armor piece. So now looking at that with our 10 energy on this helmet, in the far right slot, he put enhanced sniper rifle targeting, which costs 6 energy. Then on the second slot, which is from the same pool of perks, he went ahead and used a sniper rifle ammo finder, which apparently does actually work better than the generic finders we have in the game right now. When you get a drop of ammo that is directly from that perk, you see it glows green, or the heavy will glow purple. So you can actually tell when the perk is actually working or not, which is going to be pretty nice to see if it actually does anything, which it seems like it does, but you never know. So now that we have those 2 perks applied, we're at 9 void energy, and we still have 1 energy left. So we go to the generic mod slot, which will be universal for all armor pieces. And these are going to be all of your stats, so your recovery, your resilience, mobility, all that good stuff. Then also some resist mods. So looking at all the perks in the helmet slot, we have a bunch of ammo finders, then also targeting perks. So that's what you can expect to find in your helmet slot, Shadowkeep, and going forward with Armor 2.0. And like mentioned before, the generic mod slot on the very far left will be universal for all of your armor pieces, as you see right here, with all of these stat perks, then also the resist perks, then probably armaments and things like that. Now looking at gauntlets and seeing what perks they have to offer, we have a bunch of reload based perks, along with fastball for throwing your grenade faster, but mostly it's all reload based perks, which means you can double dip 2 different reloads. So right now he has enhanced hand cannon loader, then in the second slot, he will then use a generic, I think, large weapons loader perk, which is pretty unique and pretty cool. So you can double dip with 2 loaders at the same time on your gauntlets. Now moving on to chest pieces, this is where you'll find your reserve perks and also your unflinching perks. Then on your leg pieces, this is where you have your scavengers, then also your dexterities now. And once again, with all these, you can double dip in the right 2 slots. Then finally, on your class item, that is where all of your super energy based perks, or your perks where dealing melee damage gives you your grenade, or dealing grenade damage gives you your melee charge back, stuff like that. All those perks like that revolve around getting something back are all on your class ability now. So now that we know where all of these perks and mods are now on Armor 2.0, another thing that is very, very cool about the system is that any armor piece can be transmogged to look like any other armor in the game. So once you have a good rolled armor piece with the right stats and all that good stuff, you can then change the way it looks and not worry about and try and get both at the same time. One thing I caught onto in this system is that some things allow you to double dip the exact same perk. For example, reserves. I have a sniper rifle reserve on the right, and on the left, as you see, it is not grayed out. I can use another sniper rifle reserve. But now we look at sniper rifle scavenger. As you see, I already have one selected, and now on the second slot, it is now grayed out, which means I cannot use two of the exact same scavengers, which doesn't make too much sense to me, but that is how it works. And the same can be said about loaders. As you see, it already has enhanced hand cannon loader, and in the second slot, I cannot use any of these loaders that impact hand cannon reload speed, so I cannot use enhanced again, or the base hand cannon loader, or small arms loader. So you cannot double dip two of the exact same loader, or loaders that impact the same type of weapons. And as mentioned before, all armor is going to be either void, arc, or solar energy, and that determines what type of perks you can put on that type of armor. So with void, as you see, I can use grenade launcher, hand cannon, scout rifle, sidearm, sniper rifle, and that is pretty much it. And that applies for everything, including reserves, loader, and scavengers. So all void energy armor will only have those weapon types for their perks. Then looking at solar, we then have machine gun, fusion rifle, linear fusion rifle, rocket launcher, and submachine gun. And once again, that will be reserves, unflinching, scavengers, and reloaders. And it's important to note that the generic like large weapon loader or unflinching and all that good stuff is universal and does not require a certain energy type. So those will be available on all different energy types. So if we look at one of my favorite builds in the game right now, Loaded Question and Wendigo, right now I use grenade launcher reserve on my class item. Then on my helmet, I have a fusion rifle reserve. Then on my gauntlets, I then have a fusion rifle scavenger. So 2 reserves and 1 scavenger. And if we see how this build will work in Armor 2.0, it's going to be very, very different. As you see, the grenade launcher perks are void based, while the fusion rifle perks are solar based, which means I will not be able to use a fusion reserve and a grenade launcher reserve on the same piece of armor. And since all reserve perks or all loader perks or all whatever perks are on that one piece of armor and not split up between 2 different pieces of armor like they are right now, that means I will never be able to get those 2 perks at the same time. But then there was this.
There are even mods, and we're not showing them off today, but there are even mods where, like, if Lisa, for example, you know, she knew she was going to be starved for ammo, but she wanted to spend her mods on something else, I might be able to actually help her with her ammo economy as well.
So the important thing to note about that, what we just listened to, is that we don't have the full picture yet. There might be things that fix this issue, or at worst makes it less of an issue. But in my opinion, this is definitely a major flaw with this system, and it reminds me a lot of the current weapon system in Destiny 2. So the pros for Armor 2.0 is that there will be a lot of new possibilities and builds that are created just because of the system alone. Then obviously having all of the 6 stats back in the game, being able to directly choose which different cooldowns you want quicker between your super, melee, and your grenade, either through getting better stats on your armor or using more of those mods in the generic slot to increase whichever ones you want, is very, very good. Being able to use things like 2 loaders at the same time, or, you know, being able to double dip in a lot of these perks that we couldn't double dip before, and just this huge variety and different builds that you'll be able to use. If you want enhanced perks, you're going to use more of your energy to do that. If you just want a little bit of more things and be more broad with your build, you can obviously do that. So overall, there's going to be a lot of new possibilities and a lot of new crazy builds. I'm definitely looking forward to first grinding out, showing off to you guys, and also playing with and what you can all make out of the system. And on top of that, the ability to grind this armor will be a lot more rewarding. So first, you have to get an armor piece with the right stats that you want, then with the right energy type that you want. And then once you have that, you can then change it to look however you want, then also put whatever perks and mods you want on it. So you're not worried about doing all 3 of those things at once. You pretty much do all of them individually, then fuse it together into exactly what you want, which is obviously really, really good and a huge improvement on what we already have. But the fact that different perks are tied to what energy type the armor piece is going to be an issue in my opinion. Just like the weapon system right now, where you can have 2 specials or 2 primaries or whatever, 2 shotguns, 3 shotguns, 2 snipers, wherever you want. And this system opens up a lot of doors to different builds that you couldn't do before. At the same time, it also limits the builds they can do. For example, if I wanted to use Recluse with Loaded Question, I can't do that. And, you know, I could list a lot of different examples. So the point of saying this is that there's all kinds of combinations that this unlocks, but it also At the same time, there are a lot of combinations that it will make impossible to actually do. For example, my favorite build in the game, which I showed, was Loaded Question with a grenade launcher right now, and obviously that might change in Shadowkeep, but if I wanted that exact same build with Armor 2.0, it's just simply not possible. I cannot have a grenade launcher reserve along with fusion rifle reserve at the same time. And then also that can be said about loaders and things like that. So once again, Armor 2.0 will unlock a lot of combinations that you could never even think about before, but it also will make some combinations impossible. And I feel like the armor you get will almost impact what weapons you use instead of making the total build freely, if that makes any sense. I forget exactly which one it is, but let's say if I get a void pair of gauntlets and I use my only options are sniper and hand cannon loader, well, more likely than not, I might use a sniper or hand cannon. Now, there are those generic perks that will kind of help this overall, but still not ideal in my opinion. So once again, just like the weapon system, Armor 2.0 definitely has a lot more pros than cons, and those pros definitely outweigh the cons like greatly, right? But I think both systems aren't perfectly optimal yet, and hopefully aren't in their final form. But once again, they are huge steps up from what we have and what we had before. So I'm not taking it for granted or anything like that. Obviously, it's a great system. I'm just giving my insight on some issues that I can see coming up. But once again, like that clip said, there are a bunch of mods and perks that we don't have already or we haven't seen. So maybe some of those will fix this issue. So what myself and some of my other friends have talked about a bunch to fix the weapon system would be the top 2 slots, which are your primaries and specials. Those should be pooled into one giant pool. Then you can pick from those and make any of them your kinetic and any of them your energy weapon. So that system would still achieve everything it does right now, but it also allow you to do all those combos that you currently can't do because they're in the same slot. And the same can be said about this Armor 2.0 system. I don't think different perks should be tied to what energy type the armor is, because that greatly restricts different builds in the game. And finally, the last con I can see of the system is what I mentioned before, that you can't double dip 2 of the exact same perks for scavengers and reloaders and some of the other things. I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to use double hand cannon loader or double sniper rifle scavenger, especially the scavengers, because currently in the game you can use 2 of the same scavengers right now, unless they are altering the ammo economy and how much the scavengers impact what you get from each box. And if that is the case, I then will understand why they're only doing 1 at a time. And my best guess to why you can't double dip same loader types is because there is a cap to reload speed in this game, and there has been in Destiny 2 forever. And I think with all these different stats coming back and more focusing on really diverse builds, I think they should remove that reload cap. That way you could take advantage of double dipping the same reload type. If you want to spec straight into only sniper stuff, I see no reason why that shouldn't be a thing if that's what your playstyle is and what you want. So overall, with all these cons, it pretty much boils down to not limiting different diversity in the game, and some of these systems in place in Armor 2.0 as of right now will limit that diversity in your builds. And yeah, I think that's overall everything I wanted to say. Once again, just making sure you guys understand this system is amazing, a huge step in the right direction. I just don't think it's quite there. There's still a little bit more to go, but you always got to take multiple steps forward. But in the process of taking multiple steps forward, sometimes you take one tiny step backwards, which isn't that big of a deal. Hopefully we take that step back forward in the future. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. I think I covered everything pretty well. I will make another video about the Sentinel changes, which is the Word of Dawn and Weapons of Light, which we saw in the stream. Once again, if you did not watch the stream and you want to see it, I will link that in the description, the very top line. And yeah, let me know if you guys have questions. I'll try to answer all of them. If there's a lot of questions, I'll make a totally another video going into greater detail of things I missed or things you have questions on. But yeah, overall, I'm very excited to get my hands on the system and see all the different builds. There's going to be, tens of videos about, crazy build for Loaded Question, crazy build for Tractor Cannon, or whatever. So I'm definitely looking forward to it overall. Anyways, that's gonna be it for the video. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.